Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Black and White United Show. I'm your host, Andreas. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. In today's episode, we're just going to do a quick draft review and some news filtering in about the rookie draft coming up later this afternoon. Roll the intro.
0, 1. Let's get started.
Okay, so last night was interesting. If you're following on Instagram, on my Instagram page, I was putting up updates and stuff like that throughout the night. If you weren't watching the draft, we, started off from night one having picks 39 or 37 or whatever. This draft will be known as the bidding wars. I mean, that's just how it's going to go down. Every single time there was an academy player up for grabs, they were bid on by other clubs. Some of them passed. Sydney passed on another one, very similar to the Joel Cochran situation last year. And also other academy players from other clubs got bid on. What did the Pies do? Well, we thought we were going to try and get enough points to get our first pick to get Zach McCarthy in the side. That did not happen at all in the way that we thought it would. Because of the other bids and stuff like that, the points obviously system was getting increased. We were moving up the order because other clubs were bidding on other players, and the draft order as it was going was changing, which was fascinating to see. But the Collingwood obviously had everything planned out, and to be honest, I think they've done really, really well here. I've seen comments all over the internet saying that, we're picking up all these mids. Well, to be honest, we are looking for another mid. We are in 12 months going to go after a big fish to go straight into the side, to be side by side, excuse the pun, next to Nick Dacos, next to a Ned Long, next to, Bo McCreary and all these young talent that we've got pushing through the midfield. But we have to try and find a gem. And having picks 32, 37, 55, and 57, obviously we did pass, I think, on our final pick or our final two. It was our final pick at pick 61 or 62. We did pass on, so that leaves an open spot there. So let's just get straight into the guys that we drafted into our side. So at pick 32, we picked Tyan Prindable. He was from the Brisbane Lions Academy, which they did not match any sort of bid, part of the Coates Talent League, and also from the Cooperoo Junior Football Club. Looking at the highlights, looks like a gutsy in and out midfielder, really stocky, like as in like broad, solid. Sort of from the highlights they put on, he did, not just from his appearance, but just the way that he was playing. It reminded me a little bit of a Clayton Oliver, just, the way he was winning the ball and stuff, which was fantastic. The next one that we picked up was Sam Swadling, another midfielder from West Perth and the Midfield Junior Football Club. This kid, from the highlights they've put up and from what I'm reading, this kid's got arrogance about him. I think this kid is really passionate. You could see in the graphics and stuff they put up when he was playing for the WA side, like he was just like passionate about everything. He looked really clean with his kicking in the highlights, so they obviously see a bit there. Then at pick 55, that's when, with no bids, we were able to secure Zach McCarthy from our NGA program. He is a graduate of the NGA program. He is a ruck. He is a forward. He is exactly what this club has been screaming for a long time. He, realistically, I don't think he'll break into the side next season with where we're wanting to go. But with that being said, you get a solid AFL preseason into him. And I must state, his season this year was riddled by injury. He was playing half in the for the Chargers, I believe, and half for his school footy team. So he was obviously, his time was split, but he did play for Vic Metro in the national championships. The club has obviously had a really good insight on him for a long time. He was part of the NGA program simply because obviously his mum was Vietnamese born, so he qualified for that, and we ended up getting him at pick 55. Because there were no bids, the club was obviously very well aware that no one was going to bid for him, and if they did, they had the points anyway. So we were able to, with our draft order going up higher, we were able then to secure another 2 players in Printable and Swaddling, which is like midfield players that we need, which, realistically, having the chance to pick up other players as opposed to just the ones that you were wanting the whole time is a bonus. Considering that we didn't have, those picks, in the top in the first round, obviously, because we've traded and stuff over the last couple of years for Lockie Schultz and Dan Houston, etc. At pick 57, this is the most interesting one. This is the one where it's like, okay, they've obviously seen someone here who, didn't go through the draft when he could have over the last couple of years, but, played for Sturt in the SANFL, did win the best on ground in the Sandford Grand Final. So that's obviously saying something there, because that state league, especially if you're playing in finals like the VFL, the Sandford, the Waffle and stuff, if you're playing in the Grand Final, you're obviously playing with men. These guys are semi-professional footballers. Some of them are trying to still break into the system. Some of them have probably just come out of the system. So they're ready-made footballers. They're almost professional footballers, and you're getting, tough body-on-body contests throughout the season. And then to make a grand final, to win the grand final, to get best on ground in the grand final, the club has seen something. He was available, pick 57, Angus Anderson. He comes to the Collingwood Football Club. This is someone who potentially we could get straight into the side if he has a great preseason. Obviously, an AFL preseason compared to a state league preseason is going to be different, but it's the state league preseasons are obviously well more intense than what, your local club preseason is going to be. And even there, local clubs in the EDFL, the Northern Footy League, the VAFA and stuff like that, in just like in Victoria, they've already started preseason. They started most of them at the end of October, start of November. So there's not much time off. Football, community football, state football is getting a lot more competitive. The standard is rising. Although, people are saying this draft, is nowhere near as strong as what last year's draft is going to be. Let's be real about that. But you can find in drafts, these little pieces there that not only, they might not be world beaters, they might not be the greatest footballers that your club's ever going to pick up, but they're going to be the right players for this season, next season, and the next 4 or 5 seasons that play the role perfectly. If everybody plays their role perfectly, as well as having your stars on your side, you are going to contend for premierships. If you're stocked up, it's one man out, the next man in, 2023 all over again. That's how we won the flag. We won the flag like that in 2010 as well, and we competed pretty well this year with injuries and management and stuff like that, and made a prelim final. We are finding the players that we need, the players that we can get the training and everything into to fill a role perfectly with the picks that we had. Let's be real. If we had a higher picks, we wanted to get higher. We obviously saw someone there that we wanted. We couldn't trade back into the top 10 or top 20 or even just the first round in general, which was 25 picks, not just 18 because of the bids and stuff like that happened. We were able to still snag players that we wanted. And to be honest, they were pretty content and comfortable with the picks that they got. So Ty and Printable, Samuel Swaddling, Zach McCarthy from the Collingwood NGA, and Sturt's best on ground in the grand final in the Sandford, Angus Anderson, makes his way to the Collingwood Football Club, pretty much, and they'll be getting into it as of today. You'll start to see presses, you'll start to see interviews, you'll start to see everything come out of, at a Collingwood fairly soon. I do also have a little thing here. I want to say that Anderson was the captain of the Sydney Swans Academy as a junior and played 18 games across the 2025 sample season as well. So the kid's got an understanding of the system already, and he'll come into a professional environment, a professional workplace. He will be looked after with world-class facilities. And, I'm just really looking forward to seeing what these guys can do and how they can contribute to the side, not just for this year, but definitely for our VFL team this year. Next year, 2026 for next season. And then hopefully you see one of these 4 kids, as well as a Harry DiMattia, as well as a Jacob Ryan, as well as a TJ, as well as, getting Harvey Harrison back, getting Reef McGuinness back from his knee injury. Seeing these boys, this is the crop here that we've got. They might not be the greatest players of all time, but if this crop of players that are ready to pounce, and Oscar Steen as well, players like them, now that Mason Cox is gone, these players, they've got to break down the door and put pressure on the old boys and say, hey, listen, you've had your time, even if it's a Pendles, even if it's a Sidey, and I'm talking about, two of the top 5 greatest players ever to pull on the black and white jumper ever, right? You've got to put pressure on these boys now and say, hey, I want your spot. And I'm going to get your spot, and I'm going to do everything I can, whether it's at the start of the season, middle of the season, or pushing into finals. I'm after your spot. And that is what builds a contending side. That's what builds a premiership side. Let's get into the rookie side of things, which is going to be happening at 3:15 this afternoon. Okay, so I'm led to believe that Collingwood, as much as we don't want to see it in the sense of the namesake and all that type of stuff, I am led to believe that Collingwood will go after Jez Saxena as a rookie spot over Tom McGuan. Now, I'm not sure of the intricate parts here and there and whatever, but I know that Jacob Blight, and I've seen it on social media, has signed for a club back in WA in the State League. So that means then that we're not going after him for the SSP spot. Does that mean that, and I'm just sort of saying this on the top of my head now because I'm not sure how all the rules and machinations of Category A, Category Bs, and SSPs work. I probably should have done my research, but I'm just sort of like, venting it as I speak sort of thing. Does that mean now if what I'm led to believe is correct, that we are going to go for Saxena over McGuan, does McGuan still get a shot as an SSP? Say, hey, listen, come to the club, train, let's see what you can do, and then we can sign you up as, in a spot that becomes available. Potentially, do we keep that spot open for the mid-season draft and say to somebody, hey, listen, go play in our VFL team, and we'll see how it goes. With that being said, though, if we were only to pick one of Saxena or Tommy McGuan, and I think we're going to go for Saxena, and he's, that small sort of forward, general sort of, forward pocket, could play on the half forward flank, maybe rotate later on after he gets a bit more size on him, through the midfield or whatever it is, and just be an all-round good player for us going into the future. Where does that leave our defense? Because I know that we're after mids, but at the same time, we need another general defender. We were looking at Silvani. We're looking at, Jacob Blight. I don't think that's going to happen now. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope maybe that he's signed for the WA team and then, as a backup, and then we pick him up as an SSP. If it doesn't work out, he goes back there. Who knows? But we do need a defender, because if one of our defenders goes down, we're in trouble. Does that mean that Josh Dacos doesn't get a run through the midfield in 2026 and he plays off the halfback? Dan Houston maybe comes up to a wing, comes up to a half forward, which is a forward line's already stacked. Even with Mycheck gone and Buller coming in, you're going to have to play Charlie West. Every single line has so many different dynamics and so much ripple effect on other players that can play dual positions. So it's going to be very interesting to see. It's going to be an intense 12 hours coming up. And then do we not pick up anybody? And then do we leave, because I'm pretty sure we've got 2 spots left. Do we turn around and say, hey, listen, we're going to pick up one of these 2 kids in Saxena or McGuan. We're just going to leave the SSP stuff. Who knows? And then we just go delisted free agent preseason draft and we pick up somebody who's been delisted that can come in and give us some sort of supply over the next 12 to 24 months of football, an older player. Who knows? The club knows what they're doing. I do think as a whole in this draft, considering the hand that we had, and we even traded off pick 51, so we were pretty content with having, 32, 37, trade off 51, and then when the pick went for 55, we brought in McCarthy. Well, we could have got McCarthy at 51. So, GWS, I was going to say Western Sydney then, only because I was flicking, I saw highlights of the A-League before on my phone, but GWS have, they wanted that pick. They gave us back a round 4 pick for next season's draft. So we're getting, a lot of back-ended picks, which I think we're going to table up together for next season and, try and move even higher up the order just to try and snag some good young kids with potential picks that we're going to get for next season as well, knowing the fact that we can also trade up to 2 drafts ahead. So next season we'll have the 27 and 28 picks that are going to be there, albeit be a compromised draft. But I'm going off now on a tangent. It's an interesting time of the season to have all this stuff play out the way it is. And obviously when you get what you get with the draft hand that you've got, I think we've done well, but we're always keeping an eye on to the future, whether it's this draft, the next draft, the draft after, the season ahead, 2026, 2027, 2028. We've got to be looking forward at the immediate future, and also the seasons coming up, because there's going to be a high turnover of players and a war chest of cash that Collingwood can throw at any free agents going in. So I'm happy with the pickups for now. In theory, we needed mids, we needed defender. I think now the defense is something that we really have to concentrate on, albeit next season in the free agency, we're going to try and poach a big fish for the midfield, I think. But who knows? Preseason is going to start. I'm pretty sure preseason starts next Monday. The kids are going to go at it. It's going to be awesome. We are going to find out later today what's going to happen officially with Saxena and McGuan. I believe it's going to be Saxena. So who knows? But that'll be done later this afternoon at about 3:15. We'll know what's going on. Make sure you give our sponsors a visit on Instagram, the Hopper Bros Barbecue, for all your tips and tricks and everything barbecue. Make sure you give them a follow, and also Northern Cleaning Solutions. There's going to be heaps of announcements made over the next few weeks. We do have a special one coming up. It's going to be pretty good. I'm going to be dropping hints on Instagram, so make sure you give us a follow on Instagram. The handle and everything's down below. But until then, make sure you drop a comment. Make sure you tell me what you think. Call it as you see it. And as always, go the Pies.